I'd put you in my pocket, push the button through the hole to lock it. Hold on to you, you're like a treasure. Walk across my hand, it'd be a pleasure. You could come with me. You could come with me. Oh, you're such a sweet little misfit. When your smile falls down, I wanna lift it. Wanna make you better. Wanna run away together.
Okay, yay, we're here.
We're here.
Yay. So welcome to Listeners of History, the podcast about oh my god.
What is it about?
It's about interesting people you probably didn't learn about in school. I'm Fega, and I am a laryngitis monster.
I'm Issa, and I am a post. I don't always like I am a post depressing thing I've been studying recently. Puddle. I'm a little
Oh.
down in the dumps. I am like a little bit of a puddle. I'm gonna be kind of like tucking myself in tonight, just being like, it's okay, Issa. It's okay.
Yeah. Cuddle Pikachu.
Yeah. So we're feeling mellow today, y'all. We're it's a mellow day. Yeah.
It's been a month in my household of one or the other of us being sick. I had this idea that while you were in Europe, I was going to get so ahead of all my reading.
Uh-huh.
And then I got sick for 2 weeks, and then Mazal got sick for 2 weeks.
No. Oh my goodness.
So here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are, and it's.
But here we are, and we're forging on, as always.
And we're going to talk about a guy who I didn't realize was. So there's this really weird building in Philly, on Market Street. And I've always looked at him and like, what is the deal with that building? So I used to teach music at a charter school that was like on the second floor of the Marshalls.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. And it's right next to the building's right there. And I was always like, why is that building like that? And anytime I ask people who might know, they'd go, oh, it's the old Robinsons. And I'm like, that tells me nothing. Like why is it look
why is it
like a tsunami?
What is the one that's like that? Yeah, it's really intense for no reason. It's like who said anything? Like, okay. Yeah,
it's very much it's what's that meme? It's like, no one.
Yeah, that's what no one.
This building.
I'm here. So wait, did the subject of our podcast today design that building?
Yes, he did.
No way. We have our very own. Can I announce his name?
Yes.
Drum roll. Victor Gruen.
Yes.
Right here in Philadelphia, right here in River City.
Yeah, right here in River City. And it's actually been really great because I've had several tours that have gone on that stretch lately, and that stretch I've always found really challenging with tours because there's not that much to talk about. But now I can talk about Victor Gruen, and it's great.
Yeah, awesome.
The people I had today were like really excited about it, which is great, especially because I wasn't expecting to give a tour. My tour guide was sick.
Oh my gosh!
So I had to do last minute 9 a.m. tour.
Oh my goodness! And Victor Gruen saved the day because everybody loves Victor Gruen.
Yes, we do. So Victor Gruen, our buddy, he was born at Victor with like a K. Like if you Google him, it's Victor, like the anglicized Victor with a C. But
but it was originally a K.
It was originally a K.
Okay.
So Victor David Gruenbaum.
Okay.
On July 18th, 1903, to a middle-class Jewish family in Vienna.
He was one of ours?
Yes.
I didn't know.
I know, right?
I know he's one of. Okay, all right, cool.
There's a reason you didn't know that.
Oh yeah, because he didn't want me to.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but we'll get there.
Okay.
So, middle class Jewish family in Vienna. So at the time, this is before World War I. This was actually a really good time to be a Viennese Jew.
Oh, this is the best time to be a Viennese Jew. Yeah.
Like, there's this like feeling of possibility and freedom, and like this idea that, oh well, we're starting, the Austro-Hungarian Empire. We only care about like business and stuff. You can be whoever as long as you're like making money, which was like a freeing thing for Jewish families who were blessed to have businesses and things like that.
So it was definitely, this is a really fascinating time in Austrian history, because in Austrian Jewish history and Jewish history in general, because I have a book about the Viennese Jews, and it's called something. It's like a little bit of a. It's definitely like a mind fuck, because it's called like the tragedy of success. Because obviously what happens is Viennese Jews were some of the most successful business people, and of course, like, people were like they got blamed for all this shit, and then suffered some pretty bad consequences. But yeah, and then of course you have tons of different types of, like, there are tons of different Jews in Vienna. There's also like the Hasidim who don't want to assimilate, and there's lots of
not Victor.
Clearly not Victor. Very
also,
interesting time.
I saw a show on Broadway recently called Leopoldstadt that just reminded, like, is about this era, and so I was like, well, that's helpful. So he studied architecture at the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts.
Cool.
I couldn't find if he finished or not, which makes me think he didn't.
Which means he's better at architecture than Hitler.
That's true. That is true.
Better, because people know about the art one. People don't know about the architecture one. He failed at that too.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
In 1918, his father died. So that brought Victor home to his family. And at that same time, the Austro-Hungarian Empire fell. So all of that like safety and prosperity just down the drain for Viennese Jews. Things became very uncertain for them, and him in particular, because his father just died, and architecture became like a practical thing for him. He was able to work for a family friend, but what he really threw himself into were his socialist political activities, because he was mega socialist.
Wow.
He performed in political coffee houses doing like vaudevillian stuff. I know, right? I keep looking at that picture of him. I keep looking at that famous picture of him. You're like, this man did vaudeville. Not actual vaudeville, but like that style.
Yeah. That's so funny.
It's a mix of music, slapstick, social critique, and drama.
Wow. That's amazing.
He worked with a theater group called Politisches Kabarett.
Yep. Wow.
Which was a theater group dedicated to overtly political and controversial one-act skits.
Wow. And so I wonder if that's connected to like today's Berlin cabaret and stuff. Probably, because it's this type of comedy that you can go, that happens in Berlin, but you won't get it unless you're like deeply knowledgeable, or at least like quite familiar with Berlin and German politics, because it's all extremely specific to like the politics, but it's all like comedy. And it's called cabaret. Yeah.
I mean, it might be because this was kind of a big deal, it sounds like people knew them. He saw his socialism and his theater work as like inexorably linked. Like these,
as you do, as one does,
were not separate in any way. Which it's just lovely, because of course this is like art and democracy. This is like,
of course, I had no idea he was a theater kid. That's so fun.
Yeah, he saw himself as a socialist first, then as Viennese, and then a very, very distant third, a Jew. So that's why you didn't know he was Jewish, because to him it wasn't that important.
Yeah, he was on that assimilation train. I get it.
Oh, 100%.
There's a new book out called Jews in Suits, and I really want to read it.
It's such a good title.
It's such a good title, and the book cover is gorgeous. Two very dashing men, of course, in suits, Jews in suits. And it's about this era in like Austria and Jews wearing suits. It's all like original research. It's unfortunately a little prohibitively expensive, it seems like. So
all the good books are.
Oh gosh, it's supposed to be an academic book, so it's like $150 or something like that, which is like,
oh, that's really bad.
It's crazy. I
just rejected a book about the streets of Philadelphia, and how they were laid out and the naming and the parks and stuff that I really, really want.
Yeah,
but it is the cheapest I could find. It was $40. And I was like, I don't $40 want this book.
No, it's like, it's always like those really thin ones. It's like, it's just because there's not very many of them out there that people can charge $40. And like, I've bought a book like that where it's like, why did I pay $40 for this thin ass book?
No, I have a few books like that I felt I needed to buy. But at any rate, I have a great quote from Gruen describing himself that just, I feel like really can put us in his mindset in life. So he defined himself as adorer of the female, socialist, humanist, environmentalist, architect, businessman, philosopher.
Great LinkedIn bio.
Yeah, or Redditor.
Or Tinder. Did it say adorer of the female?
Yes, that was his number one most important defining characteristic of himself.
Amazing.
He was married 4 times.
Okay. All right, Victor. Okay.
Yep. So like I said, he had a day job with a family friend. Actually, his godfather. I got that wrong. Mm-hmm. His godfather's architectural and construction firm, Melcher and Steiner. Okay. But he found it super boring. And, he just wants to be a theater kid,
Yeah.
But then March 12th, 1938, the Anschluss happens. So this is the annexation of Austria by Nazi Germany. Mm-hmm. And he was completely blindsided by it, which is interesting for someone who was like politically active. Mm-hmm. I don't know a whole lot about, I know about that era in that way that like I am a Jew from South Jersey. And so like we studied it like a lot.
Yeah.
But I haven't done like real research on it, if that makes sense. And so it seems odd to me that he would have just no idea. But apparently he was completely blindsided by it.
Yeah.
His car was confiscated. He was sent to prison. But he still didn't want to leave Vienna. He loved Vienna. He didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
He burned all the evidence of his socialist activities, and his theater friends and him all vowed that they would meet and do theater again if they managed to escape. And they all mailed scripts of their work to allies around the world. I know, right? Don't worry, it gets happier.
I know. I'm just, oh my goodness. That's wonderful. They loved each other.
Yes, they did. Yeah. He was married to a woman named Alice Cardos, who went by Lizzie. Mm-hmm. And she was the one who was like, okay, Victor, we need to leave.
Yeah. Like, somebody always has to say it. Somebody always has to be that person. It's time to flee. It's time to flee.
Yeah. And by that point, you couldn't just go. Right. So they found a sponsor, actually through an actor friend in New York. So this woman, Ruth York, they met her on a train and became friends as part of the Vienna theater scene. And she had moved back to her native New York, and they contacted her, and she found somebody to act as a financial sponsor for Gruen's family. And it took their entire savings to pay the tax to be permitted to leave Austria.
Yep. That's how they did it.
They arrived in New York. I loved this. This is what he said about this. Isn't a quote, but like this is based on his talking about this. He arrived in New York speaking no English, almost no money, some of his socialist plays, and a Viennese T-square.
Incredible start. Tragically without his life savings. But
he had like $8 if I remember correctly.
Oh my gosh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but he was out, and he had a skill that was in demand.
Yeah.
When he was on the boat, somebody said to him, listen, a lot of like refugee Jews, they're trying to get jobs as like dishwashers and stuff because they don't know the language and they don't know what to do, but like America needs architects, so like just go for it. Like you'll figure the language thing out. Don't go for the lower rung stuff, like just be an architect. And it worked out. So he found work as a draftsman for 2 design firms, which he had a big part then with them designing the 1939 World's Fair in Queens.
All right.
And he helped make the General Motors Futurama display, which I don't know if you're familiar with this. I think you can still see it in Epcot, like at Disney. But it's a realistic model of a new future American city. And it's fascinating because it's what in 1939 General Motors or whatever thought was going to be the American city.
Right.
And so he was a part of building that, which is cool. I don't think he was like the idea man behind it, but he helped build it. He tried to get back into theater. Not a lot of success there. There was a lot. I think all of his theater company escaped to New York, which is lovely. Certainly most of them. And so they tried to get some interest in their political theater. But unfortunately, the only interest that was there was the fact that they were refugee Jews from Europe and not what they were actually saying. So like they had a brief run on Broadway, but when they tried to like do anything that wasn't just like, here's some of the stuff we did in Europe, people didn't care.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it's really a bummer.
So it's kind of like people were just kind of exoticizing them and then didn't care about the things they were actually saying.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's exactly it.
Yeah, yikes.
Which is a bummer.
Yeah.
In the U.S. at the time, architecture was a gentleman's profession. And I think in a lot of ways still is.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is.
And so a lot of architects were too good to be doing practical things like retail architecture.
Of course.
Because, they're making those weird, like, I don't want to call somebody out when I don't know that much about architects.
No, do it.
Like,
do it.
The Guggenheim.
Yeah, no, do it. Do it.
Like, call weird ass buildings like that. Like your
weird ass buildings that nobody actually likes.
Yeah.
Except for architects. They make them for each other, impress each other. I obviously hate most architecture. Not all modern architecture or contemporary architecture, but I do hate most of it.
Yeah.
For this reason. Yeah.
There's that.
Someone's going to call me a neo-traditionalist fascist for saying that. People always are like, you're such a fascist because you're saying that. I'm like, no, I just don't like it.
Listen, we all can have preferences.
We can.
I talk bad about New International Style every single day. Because we go by the Lowe's Hotel. And I tell everyone on every bus how much I hate the architecture of that building.
What's the hotel called?
The Lowe's Hotel. It's
at
LOEWS. It's across from Reading Terminal Market. Like it's a 12th and Market. But it's the old PSFS building.
Oh, I hate that building too.
I know, right? It's awful.
Worst.
And
so
it's like
ugly.
I have to point it out because it's like the first of that architectural style in Philadelphia, and it's like I can't.
We have so many better buildings. We have so many better buildings. We have some incredibly gorgeous buildings, and that is just
literally 2 blocks away.
I like the letters on top. I think they're cute. They add a little interest to but it's not PFSF whatever it is anymore. So
no,
yeah, it's just those are just there.
They tried to take the sign down, and Philadelphians revolted. It's kind of
funny. Yeah. I mean, that's the only good thing about it. We'd have to knock down the rest of the building too.
I know, right? So at any rate, these architects too good for retail.
Of course.
Victor Gruen, not too good for retail. Not saying he was humble. He was not. Definitely not. But in Vienna, architecture firms didn't see retail as like a low class thing.
Of course. Yeah.
So he didn't have that like predisposition
Interesting.
to look down on it. So he actually had done some retail design before he left Vienna. So he was positioned to be an expert in this newly emerging field in the United States.
Right.
So after his work in the World's Fair, I love this. God, this man. So he finishes his work at the World's Fair. He's unemployed, and he decides he's just going to window shop on Fifth Avenue in New York.
Awesome.
And he runs. This is crazy. He runs into Ludwig Lederer, who was an acquaintance of his from Vienna. And Lederer was opening a high-end leather goods store, and he hired Victor on the spot to design it.
Whoa. Oh my goodness.
It's just like, you're from Vienna, I'm from Vienna. We met like that one time at that cocktail party. You want to design my like Fifth Avenue store?
Sure, why not?
It's who you know, not what you know.
It's I mean, there you go.
The problem was Gruen didn't have an architectural license in the United States. But not actually that big of a deal. He paired up with a guy named Morris Ketchum. Like, and I can't get over that his last name's Ketchum. Like,
because it's like ketchup, Ketchum. But with an M.
No, like Ash Ketchum from Pokemon. That blank stare is killing me.
My cat's name is Pikachu, and I know nothing of the world that he comes from. I don't know
very much about Pokemon, but I know the protagonist is named Ash Ketchum.
Oh,
like catch 'em all.
Catch 'em all. Catch all those licenses. Yeah, Pikachu became pre-named. And it felt like the perfect name for him. So it stuck.
Well, I was deeply amused when I saw this man's name. So this guy Morris Ketchum. Gruen met him when he was working on the World's Fair. He had an architectural license, so they paired up. They didn't work together long, but the work that they did together really launched both of their careers.
Okay.
And they created a really big design innovation. So I said this before we got on here that I'm going to not talk too much about like the actual architecture itself, in part because it seems silly to explain architecture to you when I don't know jack about architecture.
Neither do I. I don't know anything about architecture. I just guess as I go.
Listen, you know more than I do. Like I joke, and I say it's a joke, but it's true. I tell tour guides that, I go around the city and I'm like, oh, Independence Hall, that's Georgian style.
Right.
Congress Hall is federal style. And you know how I know that? I memorized it.
Yes, because
I cannot tell you why one is the other.
Okay, but honestly, I have tried. This is my secret. This is my dirty little secret, because I've fully given a tour of Old City. I cannot. If you showed me a Georgian style building and a federal style building, specifically those two, I cannot tell the difference.
Those two also.
I cannot tell the difference.
Really similar.
They're the same. They're not the same, but they are almost basically the same.
It has something to do with like how their windows are placed.
It has something to do with the windows, and I don't get it.
Neither do I. I read it like 4 times.
All I know is that they're both very simple, Puritan, Protestant, like symmetry.
Gotta have that symmetry.
That's it. But like, I'm not. Get me to the Italianate, the Grecian, the Egyptian revival, and I'm good. And then we can go on from there.
So because we just put you in the Masonic Temple and say, have fun.
I've had so much fun in the Masonic Temple. Oh my gosh, I did
everything.
I took a tour there. It's incredible.
It's really cool.
I highly recommend everybody take a tour of the Masonic Temple, and go in with whatever feelings you have, come out with whatever feelings you have. It's gonna be weird, and it's exactly as weird as you think it's gonna be, and that's what's great about it.
When I took the tour, it was years ago, and it was during the popularity of like the Da Vinci Code.
Oh my god.
And when you go on a tour of the Masonic Temple, it's a Mason that takes you through.
Yeah.
And this guy in the group was just like trying so hard to get this Mason to be like, "Yep, we're taking over the world."
Oh, that's too funny. That is
to
so
the point where it was like deeply annoying because
oh my gosh. Well, yeah, there's certain like theories that like are not, they're basically interlinked with like these anti-Semitic conspiracy theories for the same fucking reasons. But the thing is, like, the funniest thing is, like, yes, there's some very powerful Masons, but like most Masons are like my grandpa, who was just like this crazy old Romanian man who just like
they get together and drink, and
they get together and they drink and they wear weird clothes, and sometimes I mean, it's you know, they're just weirdos, but they're just places where men can bond together, and it actually is most of the time pretty sweet and and
I know multiple Masons, and they are not taking. I can tell you, those people are not taking over the world for a variety of reasons. I've known a lot of Masons over my time.
Yes.
Okay, so anyway, design innovations. So Ketchum and Gruen not invented the wrong word, but they like popularized this concept of the arcade. So they designed Ciro and Letterers, of course, on Fifth Avenue. And what they did was they really created this, like, they made the sort of entry into the store feel like less of a dramatic thing. It made like it more permeable. So like you would have these like glass display cases in the front of the store, but it wasn't like the whole wall. It would just be like some of it. And so you walk in and you're looking at things and you keep looking at things, and then oops, you're in the store. Maybe I should buy something.
I see.
Yeah, so this was like a really, really sort of critical thing.
Yeah.
Lots of use of light and glass. He was really into using glass and light. He loved a fluorescent light bulb. We'll get to this later on, but he loved a drop ceiling. He loved a fluorescent light bulb.
Oy. what a combo. What a combo. I mean, you know. Yeah. I guess an innovator, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like when you like reading Romeo and Juliet and being like, oh my God, this is such a like this is just like every story is this, but it was the first, you know. It's actually not the first, but you know what I mean.
Right.
Like, there's always the thing that was the first.
Of course.
But people loved it, although there was some criticism, mostly from other architects.
Of course.
The complaint was that these very ultra modern stores clashed with the older architecture on Fifth Avenue.
Okay.
So the complaint was that they didn't take the environments into account.
Yes, that is often a complaint that sometimes I do myself, especially when buildings are really ugly.
Yeah, no, it's not. I don't think it's like entirely unfair.
Yeah.
And Victor Gruen was clearly of the school of any marketing is good marketing, because he was like,
that's great.
Keep slamming me in the papers because that's getting my name out there.
That's amazing.
And he divorced his wife amicably.
All right.
I can say that word. And he married another person, Elsie Krumrick. That's not how you say her name. Krummick. Elsie Krummick.
All right.
Krummeck. Like I said, he would be married 4 times over the course of his life. His wives often played important roles in like his professional work. So you see like changes in his professional life follow changes in his marriages. So like Lizzie was an actor and was really into this like socialist stuff. Elsie is an interior designer.
Oh, okay.
And she's going to work very closely with him during their marriage.
Yeah.
So they moved to Los Angeles and he started his own architectural firm. And that's when he has his big break. He landed a huge job designing stores for Grayson's, which Grayson's has 2 names. So on the West Coast, they're called Grayson's. And on the East Coast, they were called Robinson's. And they were a discount women's wear store.
All right.
And they made so much money over World War II.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Well,
during World War II?
During World War II.
Oh, no. Okay.
Women were going to work. And they needed appropriate clothing to go to work.
Okay.
And they were like a discount store. Like they were like a Kohl's or whatever. So
got it.
They made bank.
Yeah.
During the war.
Checks out.
And in general, this is also just like there's a general large national chains are really spreading across the country.
Yeah. In a way that they have not before.
Right. During and just after World War II. And because these large national chains had more money to work with, they like to use bold designs to attract attention and to pull business away from smaller local stores that could not compete in that way.
And they would use neon signs to do
Yes,
that?
they would.
Yeah, they would. That's the only part that's the part I like. Yeah.
The next
I love those neon.
Super dramatic and gaudy.
Of course. And the neon signs were pretty great.
Definitely. Yeah. And Victor Gruen definitely made some use of neon signs.
Oh, I bet he did.
Yeah. So, and the other big social thing that's happening is the beginnings of white flight.
Oh, okay.
And I bring this up now because the book I read was a very good book. Okay. But it didn't bring it up till the end.
The white flight stuff?
Yeah. And I think I understand why the author did it.
Right.
Because Victor Gruen did not take that into account, like literally at all. Zero. No thought about it.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you're looking at things from Gruen's perspective, you wouldn't consider that. But I don't think you can talk about the work that Victor Gruen did and not talk about race.
Right.
Like, it's so linked because white flight is causing this huge change in what our country looks like. People are moving out to these suburbs. They're buying cars because you can't get anywhere in the suburbs without a car.
Yeah.
Even people who maybe want to buy in the city, it's cheaper to buy in the suburbs, so they buy in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Like, there's just this huge movement out of cities, and therefore this huge movement out of shopping downtown for what became white suburbanites.
Yeah. The main demand for what he will be designing is because of white flight. It won't really work without it. Yeah.
The sort of economic boost that's happening in the country is really exclusively happening for the white population. So that's sort of like having more capital to buy random stuff with.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just like, this was very deeply racially divided.
Of course.
So the car is becoming like very important in post-war
America.
And so these stores, these national chains, needed parking. Which, if you think about it, before World War II, you didn't really need parking. Like, because people
absolutely
not places or took like a streetcar. You need parking, and you need to be able to grab attention from the road.
Yes.
And people are just enamored with like this huge change that's happening. Like, everything felt possible after World War II.
Yeah.
And so during World War II, Gruen and Krumek were actually tapped to help with this hypothetical post-war redesign of Syracuse, New York. It was called 194X. So like 1940 something. So 194X.
Oh my gosh. They were selling this in a way that I feel like was from like 2005. Well ahead of time. 24X. Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
That's so funny.
And so this was supposed to be there was a master plan. And I put that in quotes because that is what it's called.
Okay.
And it banished cars from downtown and created a pedestrian paradise.
Cute.
But the planners thought that an additional shopping center was needed closer to where people would be living. And they thought this would help, not hurt downtown, which is bonkers, but whatever.
Right.
So that's what Gruen was put in charge of, was designing this shopping center.
Okay.
And I bring up this project because we see the beginnings of what becomes his life's work in this moment. Because when he's designing for like Robinsons and Graysons, he's doing these individual stores.
Right.
With like these wild designs. Like, so like the one in Philadelphia has this huge wave, and that's all mosaic. I didn't realize that.
What?
Look at it closer next time you're over there.
That's
mosaic.
So cool. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, we'll have to go and check that out. Yeah.
Yes. It looks terrible now, but you can tell it's mosaic.
It was.
The store in like somewhere in California, it had like so much neon. Like these were like just these bonkers things. But this is where we start to see the beginning of what would define Gruen in his life.
Yeah.
So he didn't think of this as just a place for shopping. Remember, at the end of the day, dude's a socialist.
Yeah.
He wants this to be a whole community center.
Yeah.
So his original design included shops and restaurants, but also a nursery school, a library, a theater, a clubhouse, and more stuff like that.
Wow. And he's designing this in Syracuse, New York right now.
Yeah. So it's it's for a hypothetical Syracuse, New York.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Hypothetical Syracuse, New York.
So this was a sort of look what our cities could become, and they just randomly picked Syracuse. I'm sure there was a reason they picked Syracuse, but
that is very funny.
This was not like a real plan that was going to happen.
Right.
And so his concept was that the shops would subsidize the communal functions and create a central meeting place for community, to create community amongst the people who lived far away from downtown, which is the stuff we're talking about now. Like there's an apartment building near me that its whole concept is that there's some of the apartments are going to subsidize lower cost apartments for long-standing members of the community. Like this is an old idea.
It's a method. Yeah. This is he's such a socialist where it's like, I'm going to do a terrible explanation of what we consider a socialist. But maybe it's just like what I think of as a socialist, which is like not entirely divorced from capitalism. Like, it's not entirely like you don't have to, and which is, and again, like I'm not a socialist myself, but I vastly prefer it to whatever it is.
Well, I mean, sort of like what we would see in like the Nordic countries where there's this communal concept, but it's not divorced from a capitalist structure.
Capitalism still happens, but we can share the goods a lot more than share a lot more of the wealth.
Like make lots of money, and use that to help us. So the final design was edited to be significantly less grand, but it just really shows where his brain was. The final design did include one very important component. The shoppers did not need to leave the building to move from store to store.
Aha.
This is critical. This was new concept.
Yeah.
And it's not going to come to fruition for a long time. So Gruen, throughout his life, he's just like very vocal. When I said he wasn't humble, like he felt very strongly that he had all the answers. And he starts to be very vocal in his disdain for retail strips. This is what kind of the problem of the day was that retail strips in the suburbs were ugly, haphazard, and then in addition, downtown is dying. Now, mind you, like 5 years ago, he was designing for these retail strips.
Right.
This is going to be a theme. Yeah. So he
I'll watch out for this
very vocal.
Yeah.
So 1949, he writes an article for Women's Wear Daily and claimed that Americans no longer enjoyed their lives. And the reason for that is because of the reason for this, Americans don't like their lives anymore. Poor retail planning.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and he was really a man of his time, wasn't he?
Really was.
Yeah, really was a man of his time. All right.
So just before this, 1947, he's commissioned to design the first truly suburban department store. So this isn't part of a strip. This is a standalone store. And it's for a brand I've never heard of called Millerons, Milliron.
Okay. All right.
And he designs this like suburban paradise.
Oh my gosh.
So the final design merged the needs of the car and the pedestrian. It had rooftop parking, but not just rooftop parking, but dramatic rooftop parking with these like swoopy things that you drove up to get to it. And there was this beautifully landscaped outdoor space for pedestrians to like hang out in outside the store. And here's a big one. He designed the building to be one huge one-story building rather than the more typical for the time, multi-story buildings. So if you think about Robinsons, it's skinny and tall.
Yeah.
The Robinsons in Philly, I should specify.
Right.
But you think about like a Best Buy or a Walmart.
Yeah.
It's one story and it's just huge.
That's true. And I guess malls, no, but malls are
different.
Multi-story. Okay. All right. So we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
Okay.
This is a standalone department store.
Okay.
But
got it.
Now I can't get out of my head every time I see like Walmart or Lowe's. I'm like, yep. There it is. Victor Gruen.
There it is. Yep.
And he, like I said, still a socialist. So he puts in public services on the roof. So there's a nursery.
Yeah.
For parents to drop off their children to go shop, which is actually something we see still in IKEA today.
That's true.
Yeah. And this was not a completely unheard of thing in the United States at the time. Wanamaker's, which is a department store in Philadelphia.
Yep.
They had a lot of community services as well, the Wanamaker's in downtown. So for example, the Wanamaker's in Philly, it's like right next to City Hall. It's a Macy's now, but it contains the world's largest fully functioning pipe organ.
That's right. That's where that is. And wait,
it's so weird. And they play it twice a day, free concerts.
That was his idea? Was this his idea?
That was Wanamaker.
Oh, that was Wanamaker. Oh my gosh.
But the point is that like the concept of having services in a department store wasn't like completely unheard of. Like this was being done other places as well.
Right.
He gets credit for lots of things. That's not one of them.
That's not one of them. Got
it. So then his marriage to Crummick starts to fail for reasons that are very familiar, I think, to some heterosexual couples I know.
Yeah.
They had kids. And Crummick lost her position as a commercial partner in his eyes in favor of being a mother. So they divorce. And I don't have anything about any of the subsequent two wives.
Yeah.
But Gruen, he's like really, though, high on the prize. He's really into this idea of a unified shopping center.
Okay.
And he just needs to find somebody who will buy it.
Yeah.
And so he teams up with a retailer called J.L. Hudson's in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And Detroit is seeing all the same white flight stuff that the rest of the country is seeing. And so their suburbs are growing at an absolutely like bonkers rate.
Oh.
And so he goes to the hut. It's kind of a funny story. He like got stuck in Detroit in a snowstorm. He just like knocks on J.L. Hudson's door. And he's like, hey, can I tell you about my grand plans for shopping malls? And so he convinces Hudson's that the real money was in not just building suburban stores, but also buying a bunch of land around that store and then becoming like basically a real estate investor, becoming a landlord to smaller stores. And the Hudson's would be what we now call an anchor store.
Oh, okay.
And so they did this. Like, he invented the idea of an anchor store. Northland is what results from that. It's an open air shopping center, and it's conceived as a community center for surrounding homes, offices, hotels, and shops. And this is the first, and it's wildly successful.
Yeah.
But Gruen, he's not happy to like just be like controlling one shopping center. This man, the audacity of this man.
The audacity.
He thought that he should be put in charge of designing an entire city.
He's getting pretty out there, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like what I imagined as I was reading about his ideas was there are these places that are becoming increasingly common when the concept of walkability became popular, maybe like, I don't know, was that 15 years ago or something? And so in like
people realize that they like to walk places.
Right. So in places like Atlanta and like outside Washington, D.C., like in Virginia and Maryland.
Yeah.
And I've actually even seen it in New Jersey. Like I've seen this in Glassboro, New Jersey. There are these like weird sections of town where you can park your car and it's walkable, but it's like you feel like you're in a dystopia because everything is identical. Like it's creepy. I hate them. I hate them.
Yeah.
I feel like he would be really into that based on reading his
like
stuff.
like with the cobblestone, not cobblestone streets, but like smooth streets that are not
and
that
just
you can
they
walk
have
on.
like the sort of fake architectural details.
I definitely see what you're saying. Yeah,
I do not like them.
Me neither.
But Asheville, North Carolina has some places like this.
Oh, of course. North Carolina. I feel like North Carolina has a lot of places like this.
Experience, and he met a guy named Larry Smith, who was a real estate analyst, and they started working together because this is what Victor Gruen really needed. He had these like really high flying ideas, and he needed somebody who could talk real estate with these potential clients.
Yeah.
Because Gruen had no absolute clue. And the other thing, the Dayton family operated Dayton's department stores in Minnesota.
Okay.
And they decide to work with him to create the first indoor mall, Southdale, and Edina. Southdale. Be very upset when he hears this. And I don't
Edina. Wait, where is this in?
It's in Minnesota.
It's in Minnesota.
Edina.
Oh gosh, I don't know. Edina.
Sure.
It's Edina, Ben. Edina. I don't know, but this is the part of the story that I do know. A little. Yes. That's a tiny bit, but that's it.
This tends to be where, when people think about Victor Gruen, it picks up.
Yes. Yeah. This is the part I remember.
Yeah. So first indoor shopping mall, it has 2 anchor stores, opens in 1956, and it doesn't just have stores. It has a goldfish pond.
What?
Sculptures and a sidewalk cafe.
Cool.
And regarding this space, it's called the Garden Court, this area.
Yeah.
Frank Lloyd Wright had opinions.
Good opinions or bad opinions? Oh, what did he say?
Here's the quote.
What did he say?
Frank Lloyd Wright, who I was slamming at the beginning of this episode, said, "The Garden Court has all the evils of the village street and none of its charm."
Oh my goodness.
Which, like, I probably would have agreed with him, but rude.
Rude. Oh, that's funny. That is very funny.
Unfortunately, the community aspects of Southdale just were never built. Like, there were plans to add all this community stuff, and it just never happened.
Yeah.
But as we know, the retail section was very successful.
Yeah.
And was copied over and over and over across the country. And Victor was pretty irritated that only the retail part was picked up. Because it, to him, defeated the entire purpose of the thing.
So what did he do that we don't see in modern malls today that was in this complex?
It wasn't there. But what he wanted was to have like a theater, rooms that could be used for free by community organizations.
Oh, Victor.
Nurseries, a post office, a library. His whole concept was, look, if all these people are going out to the suburbs and living on these weird little like quarter-acre plots.
Yeah.
The least we can do is create a space where they can make community.
Yes.
And that was his driving factor. Like, that's what he wanted.
And Minnesota is cold. So a lot of the time, it's a perfect place for it because you just cannot have, for most of the year, especially back then, I don't know if they get less snow now or whatever, probably, or more. I don't know. But you can't just like meet like as a group in the town square if there's like 3 feet of snow and it's like below freezing, like below 0 or whatever. So this was a huge opportunity to make a town square inside. That actually it made sense. Yeah.
And Minnesotans were primed for this concept. He'd actually tried to do this in Texas, except it was fully air conditioned space. And Texas was like, no, you're not doing that. That's too expensive.
Yeah.
But Minnesota was like, if we're gonna be together for like 6 months of the year, we need to be inside. So like, sure, indoor shopping, let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's so sad that he really had this dream. Of course, I'm being like a mean lefty. I'm like, well, if you let the capitalism will always do that to you, but I like to, I think that he had a dream,
he had a dream. But by the mid 1970s, Victor had designed over 50 shopping malls in the United States.
Wow.
Including the Cherry Hill Mall.
Yay!
Which was my mall as a kid.
Oh my goodness. Did you enjoy the Cherry Hill Mall?
Oh yeah.
Oh good.
I mean, listen, it was growing up in the suburbs. It was the only place that like your parents could drop you off and just leave you for the entire day.
Yeah.
And you had your $20 and you could get your orange Julius.
Yeah.
You could go to Hot Topic or just like sit in the food court and hang out with your friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without like adult supervision.
What's bananas is that there's so much about malls that, of course, like was bad. I'm sadly using the past tense, but like, that it relied on consumerism and capitalism and like all these horrible things. But they did function as town squares for kids in the suburbs.
For teenagers, they
actually served a lot. Like they say it, like I feel like people talk about this as like a huge failure, but like while they were around, it was a pretty, like there was a lot about them that worked. Yeah.
For the younger set, for sure.
Yeah.
But this doesn't stop Victor from talking shit about shopping malls that he designed. Oh. So he starts like
wait, because he didn't want it, because they didn't turn out the way he wanted or something?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, so he's just like, he talks shit about what he called vapid shopping malls.
Oh.
That lacked community. And he thought, what really needed to happen is he needed to be put in charge of a whole city. I said this man has the audacity.
But this is what architects, especially of that era, that's what they do. That was like the thing to do, is like you make it to the next bit and then they'll give you a random city in Brazil or India and you can just have at it. That is,
yeah, and I mean this is the era of quote urban revitalization.
Right.
Which
right.
We're already at 53 minutes, so I can't go too deep into it.
But yeah.
It has
the
much
kids at home
wrapped
know.
Up in
race
and politics and
yeah. And now we're
look up Ed Bacon.
Yeah.
Look up Robert Moses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go. I got you a Google list. So
I literally did that in a video today. I was like, I'm going to talk about 20 seconds and then you're going to Google it. I'm not going to tell you anymore. I told you what to Google. You look it up.
If you are a listener of this podcast and you do not already hate Robert Moses, buckle up.
Buckle up, Buttercup. Yeah.
So he gets a city, and it's not in Brazil. It's in Texas.
Oh my gosh.
Fort Worth, Texas. And he was so confident that he published an official announcement called it City X. So he didn't say where it was, but he put his plan out into the world and called it City X. And it created this big buzz. Like, where is City X? Texas legislature was like, you want to privatize, or you want to like public ties?
Yeah.
Unprivate?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Parking and handing lots of authority over to city government for zoning and planning and having requirements for how buildings are built.
Yeah.
And the legislature's like, this is Texas, sir.
Yeah.
Like, this is a Wendy's.
Yeah. Quite literally, the Wendy's of America.
Like, we are not
Wendy's.
doing that.
This is Texas. That will not work. Yeah.
So up next, Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Okay.
Which is actually one of the colleges I considered applying to. I did not.
Oh my gosh.
But
okay.
Kalamazoo, Michigan did take Gruen up on his ideas, but forced him to boil them down to the simplest possible concept, which was a downtown pedestrian shopping mall.
Okay, yeah.
Which we have one of these in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It used to be called the Galleria. It's now called the Fashion District.
Stupid Fashion District.
It's It's a lot.
It's not a pedestrian paradise.
No.
It's just like a weird, sad, empty mall.
It is very weird that they
don't like
arrest children in.
Yeah.
So
it's very creepy. It's very creepy and weird. And no, I don't think anybody likes it. I'm just gonna say that. I'm gonna say nobody likes it. We don't like it.
No, it's gross.
Yeah.
But people liked this mall. So
okay, good.
Kalamazoo basically takes his plan, and they didn't hire him to like run the project. He was pissed.
No,
like he wanted to micromanage his project, and they were like, "Thanks for the idea. Here's some money for the idea. Toodles."
Oh my gosh, that is so tragic. They took his idea and they ran with it. Hold on, my phone is ringing for no reason. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, so Gruen's mad, but 1959, the Burdick Mall opens up in Kalamazoo. It takes up 2 blocks of downtown, and everybody loves it. It's great.
Good.
Everybody loves it.
Oh, great.
And as a result, Gruen is tapped for many similar projects across the country, and was even tapped for a project designing a section of Beirut in Lebanon.
Wow.
Yeah. 1963, he wrote a book called The Heart of Our Cities, where he slammed everything he saw as an American evil. The obsession with the car, suburban wastelands, which he had a hand in building, greedy developers who he worked with, blind government bureaucrats, and pompous architects.
Oh, Victor.
He definitely was not a pompous architect.
Victor. People are always, okay, I'm going to start to say, I feel like a lot of people talk about, like, you know, it was such a tragedy what happened to Victor Gruen. It's like, he was a part of this. Like, he was a part of his own undoing. like it didn't need to be like this.
I think it is a shame that his vision for creating community in suburbia did not happen.
Of course.
And he's fine.
He's fine.
He's fine.
He's fine. And like a lot of the stuff that he designs, like he designed it. Like
yes.
He could have said no. You know, he could have said no, I'm not doing it. He was like, no, he's like, I'm gonna do it. Yeah. And I'll give me a whole city. I'll do it more.
So 1968, he makes a very weird move.
Okay.
He goes back to Vienna.
Wow.
Which is basically unheard of.
Yeah.
For Austrian Jews to do at that time.
Yeah.
His children were asked about this, like why they thought he did this. Sorry, I have like my wife and I get new wedding rings every year, and the ones I picked this year keep getting caught on things.
Oh no.
And it's stuck to my shirt. Okay. So so his kids said that they thought that he had really held up this mental image of his ideal Vienna and didn't really like process that wasn't the actual Vienna that existed in post.
Because he had left it so long ago.
Right, and most Jews who left during the Anschluss were like, that sucked, guys.
Yeah.
But he, I guess, thought that was just the aberration.
Yeah.
So he moves back to Vienna, and sorry to be a downer, but I have to read this story.
Okay.
That's actually this thing that fell out. I bought this book used because I buy all my books used. It's like a weird recipe. Something called squash casserole, even for non-squash lovers. And it is unhinged, Issa. I intend to make it at some point. I keep putting it off because I don't think I'm going to like it. I think it is upsetting sounding.
Oh my goodness. I need to. Okay, read me the sad thing first, and then at some point I want to know.
That's what we're gonna do. So I'll read the sad thing, and then we'll lift our spirits by reading this.
Okay, sounds good.
Reading this bizarre recipe. Okay, I'm just gonna read straight from the book. This is Mall Maker by M. Jeffrey Hardwick.
Nice.
His daughter-in-law vividly recalled what happened after they left the office. When they walked into the chilly Viennese evening, a, quote, shiny black Mercedes limousine glided to an abrupt halt at the curb in front of us. A man greeted Gruen, welcoming him back to Vienna. Quote, Gruen let out a piercing cry. The blood had drained from his face. She recalled the man had been a Nazi and had taken over Gruen's architectural firm in 1938.
Oh my gosh.
So distraught was Gruen that his family canceled their dinner plans. As we sped away, his daughter-in-law recalled, I turned to give Gruen a last look as he leaned weeping alone. What fascinates me about this story is that this guy stopped and like welcomed Gruen back.
Yeah, that's crazy. I literally, this is what I am in the midst of. The depressing thing that I'm in the midst of studying right now is the fact that the people that forced Jews to give up all of their businesses and possessions still have all that stuff.
Yeah, they do.
And those businesses, and that's what Volkswagen is, and that's what BMW is, and that's what, you know, a lot of these, like, there's so many companies that were just forced out of the hands of Jews, or they just made money through billions of dollars through the Holocaust in general, and like just did not get punished for it at all, pretty much. Like some of them got like a couple years in prison, maybe, but then after that, like, we're allowed to go back to business and do everything that they once did. So many
very
billions.
few of them have even come forward. Like, I know this is a touchy subject amongst American Jews, but Einstein Bagels. We may not think that the parent company that owns Einstein Bagels was that was like their story, and a lot of people think they didn't do enough, but they did. So it wasn't known like in the general public, and the family was doing some like research, and they were like, "Oh shit!" And so they came forward and said, "We found this."
Wow.
And they donated some money to some Jewish something. And a lot of people said it wasn't enough money, it wasn't enough, and I think they are entitled to their opinions. But that's a whole lot more than a lot of places do.
Yeah, it is a whole lot more. Like, most people wait for people, like, for someone else to find out. Like, they will not preemptively do it. And then
I don't eat Einstein Bagels, but not because they used to be Nazis.
Yeah, it's because
I don't eat them because they're bad bagels.
They're bad bagels. Right.
So anyway, I want to finish the sad stuff so that I can read this recipe and we can get our spirits up.
Yes, please.
So in 1978, Gruen gave a speech in London where he disavowed shopping malls.
Oh my gosh.
And said that they, quote, bastardized his ideas. And he said these words. These words came out of this man's mouth. Quote, I refuse to pay alimony for those bastard developments. They destroyed our cities, end quote. And then he died on Valentine's Day in 1980.
Victor Gruen. Oh my goodness. That is so... You did this, dude. You did this.
I feel like I know him. Like, not him specifically, but I feel like I have met this person.
Yeah.
So many times.
Yeah. Gosh, that is so fucking funny. I know. I appreciate him in a way. I feel like I understand who he is a little bit better, but I also feel like there's a lot of like architecture, like socialist bros who like take him at his word and are like, yeah, what a tragedy. And you know, there's tragic elements to it.
It was a tragedy.
It was a tragedy.
Not for the reasons they think.
Right. So tell me, what do you do? How do you make a squash casserole that even non-squash lovers will love?
Okay. First of all, I'm going to show you this, which I know this doesn't do anything for people on the podcast, but I'll put it on TikTok or something. It's printed. Oh my gosh. Big.
This is so funny. Okay. All right. Great.
1.5 pounds yellow squash. Cook, drain, and mash. We are off to a great start.
Cook, drain, mash. Okay.
Yeah, so mash squash. I have never in my life mashed a squash.
No.
1 stick of melted butter. 1 8-ounce package of Pepperidge Farm herb stuffing.
Okay.
1 1 can, no, just kidding. 1 cup sour cream.
Okay.
1 can cream of chicken soup.
Okay.
1 onion, finely chopped.
1 onion,
4
finely chopped.
carrots, grated.
4 carrots.
And 1 2-ounce jar of pimentos, chopped.
No! Take them out! Take them out!
Combine butter and stuffing. Line large flat casserole with half of the pepperidge mix. To the squash, add sour cream, soup, onion, carrots, pimentos, and a quarter of the stuffing mix. Stir and mix well. Spread over mix lining casserole. Cover with remaining buttered stuffing mix.
Oh my God.
Bake at 350 degrees for 30 minutes until warm and brown. May be made day before or frozen and baked before serving. This is a special favorite for holiday meals with my family. Serves 10 to 12.
That is so amazing. This okay, I can't tell what subtype of American this is, but this is the most American thing in the entire fucking world. Is this Midwestern American? Is it suburb American? Is it like which part of the country? Because like here's why this is pretty great is that it goes really well with the history of shopping malls in America.
It really does. Would you like to expand on that, Issa?
I think I just only because of I always have such complicated feelings about it, but like I feel like it's fun to at least recognize the fact that like even like the most boring ass white Americans you can think of have like everybody in the world has a culture. Everybody in the world has a culture. Yes. And sometimes those cultures are more colorful and sometimes they are a lot less. And but
and sometimes they're putting pimentos in mashed squash.
So there is a certain type of American culture that if you look at the details of it, it's less bland than you think. It's just has a lot of butter and sugar. Yep. And there's more subtleties to it than you think. And I think the shopping mall neon signs and all types of casseroles are all parts of that.
I like that. I think that's a lovely wrap up.
Yeah.
I am planning on making this. I have purchased for the first and probably only time in my life a jar of pimentos.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I need to know how this turns out.
Yeah. No, we'll have you all over for Shabbos dinner and we'll have squash casserole for non-squash lovers.
I never thought of squash as a thing you have to convince people to like. Like it's it's a benign vegetable. It's not. This is not
a squash.
This is so funny. Well, I can't wait to try it.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So, let me pull up. I'm not prepared for the end. Hang on. While I'm pulling this up, I'm going to tell you I fed the cats early so that they wouldn't be bothering me.
I did too. I fed Pika early because I got home at 5:50. He was screaming and I knew that wasn't going to work.
But they still like I still made them wait like half an hour.
Yeah.
And they started bringing their toys over to their bowls. Like, look, I hunted this. Feed me.
This should be good enough. Feed me.
They've taken to hunting random like socks that have been previously lost.
Right.
In the basement. Like it's not great.
That's very funny.
So here we go. Thank you so much for listening to D-Listers of History. If you enjoyed yourself, be sure to subscribe and drop us a review on whatever platform you listen on. A huge thank you to April Keys for the use of the song Misfit from her album Mountain View. You can find her on all the various social media platforms. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at D-Listers of History, no hyphens. Big shout out to the folks supporting us on Patreon, like Alex.
Yay!
Yay, Alex! If you want to support us and get access to all sorts of exclusive content, become a patron of this program. Before this, I recorded myself doing a dramatic reading of an Alexander Hamilton letter. Let me tell you, we have a fun time over there at Patreon.
Oh, excellent.
Also, lots of very good stickers.
Yes, stickers.
All this and more can be found on our website, dlistersofhistory.com. Again, no hyphens, just smush it together. Hi, this is Fago the Future. I forgot to say that our next episode is coming out July 17th. Okay, take it away, past Fago. And now for an episode relevant audio drop.
Architecture, as a creative expression, will die if it cannot create conditions within which it can be meaningful. There's little sense in exhibiting paintings in a room that is pitch dark. It would be rather foolish for a virtuoso to play a violin solo on the runway of a jet airport. There's just as little sense in placing brilliantly designed buildings into an atmosphere of danger, noise, and fumes which an unworkable, hostile environment creates.